How does firing a 20-year national security prosecutor enhance public safety?
Senator Klobuchar, I'm not going to discuss personnel decisions, but the personnel issue that I'm having right now, I may point out one of the most liberal grand juries in the country.
Okay, let's go on to other firings or terminations. Last week, the Justice Department fired at least 2 senior attorneys in the Eastern District of Virginia, including the office's national security chief, Michael Benary. It is reported that his firing came following criticism from a right-wing social media commentator who wrote, "One can only assume he was part of the internal resistance in the Comey indictment." In fact, he did not work on the Comey case. Instead, he was working on pursuing justice for service members killed in Afghanistan. How does firing a 20-year national security prosecutor enhance public safety?
Senator Klobuchar, I'm not going to discuss personnel decisions, but the personnel issue that I'm having right now is that all of my agents, all of my lawyers are working. My agents are on the street working without a paycheck because your party voted to shut down the federal government.
Unfortunately, the House isn't even back here. They're 18 days off the job to even meet with us to come up with a resolution that we would like to discuss with them about saving people's health care. Let's move on to the Antitrust Division. Did you authorize your chief of staff to overrule top officials in the Antitrust Division to settle the challenge to the Hewlett-Packard Enterprises Juniper Networks merger?
Senator Gail Slater runs my antitrust unit, and she is doing an excellent job on many, many cases. As you know, that is a pending case.
Okay.
In any merger, just to clarify, in any merger, Senator, there is a deal struck with our office and with the corporations involved, but then that also goes to a court to certify in any merger. In any merger, it's a multi-step process.
Okay, I will ask some further
still pending,
questions
Senator
about
Klobuchar.
antitrust. I just had one other thing. DOJ can now take the extraordinary step of subpoenaing journalists. Has the Justice Department issued any subpoenas to journalists under the updated guidance?
Time has expired.
Okay, I'll ask those on the record.
You may respond, Ms. Bondi.
You can respond, she said.
Oh. Senator, my office in April restored the Justice Department's longstanding norm on this issue. It was AG Garland who had deviated on the media investigations policy, allowing self-identified journalists using this self-serving status as a shield against being held accountable for endangering our nation's security. We have taken that policy back to the norm, and I can't comment on whether we have or have not, or do not have pending investigations.
Time has
Senator
expired.
Klobuchar.
Senator.
At a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on Tuesday, Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat, Minnesota, questioned Attorney General Pam Bondi about recent firings at the Department of Justice. During the exchange, Klobuchar brought up the dismissal of several senior attorneys in the Eastern District of Virginia, including Michael Benary, the office's national security chief who had served for nearly 2 decades. Reports indicated that his firing followed criticism from a right-wing social media commentator who accused him of being part of the internal resistance in the Comey indictment. However, Klobuchar noted that Benary had not worked on the Comey case at all, but was instead focused on pursuing justice for service members killed in Afghanistan. She pressed Bondi on how removing an experienced national security prosecutor could possibly enhance public safety. Bondi declined to discuss specific personnel matters, saying instead that her immediate concern was that her agents and lawyers were working without pay due to the ongoing government shutdown. She emphasized that the House had been inactive for over 2 weeks and that the administration was ready to discuss solutions to protect Americans' health care and restore government operations. Klobuchar then shifted her questions to the department's Antitrust Division, asking whether Bondi had authorized her chief of staff to overrule top officials regarding the Hewlett-Packard Enterprises and Juniper Networks merger case. Bondi defended her team, praising Gail Slater, the head of the Antitrust Unit, for her work and explaining that merger cases follow a structured, multi-step process that involves both DOJ oversight and court certification. The senator also raised concerns about the department's updated policy on subpoenas to journalists. Klobuchar asked if the Justice Department had issued any subpoenas under the revised guidelines. Bondi responded that her office had restored the department's long-standing norms on media investigations, reversing changes made under Attorney General Merrick Garland. She argued that some self-identified journalists had previously used their status as a shield against accountability in cases involving national security threats. When pressed for specifics, Bondi declined to say whether there were any active investigations or subpoenas pending, citing confidentiality and the limits of what could be publicly disclosed. The exchange highlighted the tense political divide over how the Justice Department handles personnel decisions, corporate mergers, and press freedoms during a period of government gridlock.